Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of A Cup of Coffee with TESOL Experts. Today's question is, how can we use social media for professional purposes? And I have two wonderful guests. First one is Ernesto. Hi, Ernesto.
Hi there. Hello. I'm very happy to be here. And also I want to thank you, Diego, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Where are you based, Ernesto?
I'm in Venezuela, Maracay, to be more precise, which is like an hour away from the capital.
And you work there as an English professor
Yes,
at a pedagogical university at UPL Maracay. I also know that you hold a bachelor's degree in education with a major in modern languages from Universidad de Carabobo in Venezuela, and you also completed a master's in international management from the University of Strathclyde in Scotland, and that's where you got your Scottish accent.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you.
And so in addition to all of that, you also teach Spanish. So you have your private lessons and you teach Spanish, English, French online. You do freelance translation. And so, you've used a lot of social media to help you connect with your students. And you are also a former TESOL board member. TESOL is the Venezuelan TESOL, which is an affiliate of TESOL International Association. So Ernesto, who is our guest expert and our second guest expert?
Right. So our expert today is Wynn Mason, Senior Marketing Manager at TESOL International Association. Wynn Mason began her more than 20-year association career with the American Association of Family and Consumer Sciences. She was drawn to the position because of her BA in sociology and not-profit for working for families. Through ongoing training and experience, she worked her way up to the position of Senior Director, Communications and Marketing. In that role, she oversaw the association's publications, websites, social media, public relations, branding, and marketing initiatives. In 2019, Wynn accepted the position of Senior Marketing Manager at TESOL International Association, where she leads the association's marketing efforts and can draw on her experience of earning a TESOL Certificate.
Please join me in welcoming Wynn Mason. Hi, Wynn.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk with both of you today.
Well, it's great to have you, Wynn. And you have lots of experience working with social media, so I couldn't think of a better guest for today. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I feel like social media has become such an important thing nowadays with this pandemic, because in some instances is the only way, we can have to connect with students, with colleagues, maybe for institutions to promote their programs, and so we are going to share today some recommendations, and we're going to group them into 3 different scenarios. But let's start with talking about why should we care about social media? Some people feel like social media is more about self-promotion. And so what would you say to them?
Well, from my perspective, I think the first thing you would need to think about with social media is, who you are and what you want to get out of social media. And I think for a lot of people, it is more about sharing information and engaging with others. It might also be, building your business. But and as you mentioned too, during the pandemic, people really are, needing, connections with others. And so it's an excellent way to do that. Another thing to definitely keep in mind is that, social media can be much broader than just what you typically think. So, of course, we have Facebook and LinkedIn and all of these different channels. But sometimes, you can also think of, let's say, more private communities. Like with TESOL, we have, communities online with our interest sections and professional learning networks. So that's another place where if you, prefer to do things in that environment, you can, build connections there.
Yes, definitely. I mean, for social networks are a great way to, on a personal level, to learn, because you are part of this community and you learn from other professionals. You share your experience, you share a teaching practice with your students and other colleagues, and you can get some feedback from them and also see their practices, what they're doing, how things work. You could see the different perspective on a specific teaching practice. So I think it's a great way. It's just to be connected and to help each other and to learn from others.
So it's important to change that mentality, and maybe we shouldn't think about social media as a way to promote yourself, but more as a way to share something that you really care about with others. Okay, so now we're going to move on to specific tips and suggestions. And so, like I said before, we've grouped them into 3 scenarios. So scenario number 1 is an English teacher, a professor who just wants to be online and position themselves as an expert in certain topic or field. What recommendations would you have for this type of user or person?
Well, I would say, LinkedIn is definitely a great place to start, and to really build your profile there. Of course, get some recommendations, but also, join LinkedIn groups that are related to your interests and passions, so that, you can learn from others, especially people, who are very experienced in the field and influencers. So you can see, what they're doing, where they may be connected to, different groups, and just, learn from them. I think that was a great point that Ernesto had made about thinking of it in terms of like personal growth and connecting and that whole perspective.
When we learn from others, we also become part of a large community, and our community increases. So there are no borders. So it's not only teachers in your area, not teachers in your country, but teachers in different parts of the world. So the community becomes larger, and that's the beauty of it.
That's very important, because teaching sometimes can feel really isolating. Like, we are in our classrooms, we don't know necessarily what my colleague is doing. And so I think it is a great way to bring people together.
Well, I wanted to mention, once TESOL went to having a virtual convention, we definitely saw, many more people engaging from all different countries around the world, where we wouldn't have been able to have that before with the in-person convention. And I would say that professionals really used the virtual platform for engagement and connecting with others around the world.
That's wonderful. Now, scenario number 2 is maybe a teacher who is trying to look for new students, who is giving private lessons online, or maybe a smaller kind of like language center that wants to promote their courses and their programs. Scenario number 2 is more about using social media for teaching purposes. So what would be your advice?
One thing I would say to start, would be to establish a website, whether you're more of an individual or a smaller business, and also to start a blog if you can, because that is a great way to drive traffic, not only to your website, but also, to have great content to share on social media. I would also say, and this would go for, larger businesses, smaller businesses, but you would definitely want to use images, videos to really increase your engagement on your social media posts. One fantastic tool that I believe, we're all aware of on this call is Canva, which is free. And I know that nonprofits can also even get, I believe, like Pro for, free, but they have great templates for both videos and static graphics for all social media platforms.
So it's really, I've used it before. That's a great recommendation. It's very user friendly. You don't need to know, you don't need to be an expert in graphic design, and it comes with like the specific, the specific size, the specific type of image you need to make it look great. You don't want it to be cropped or anything. Oh, no. So like it just makes things professional and easy.
And the important thing, we hadn't really talked too much about branding, but especially for, an organization, you can customize it to fit your brand with your fonts and, your colors and, however you want to present yourself. Another part that I think, Ernesto, I know you might have some ideas on this too, but just the whole engagement aspect, of social media, that it's not just like a one-way communication tool. That's the beauty of it. So, finding ways to, have two-way conversations with either questions or polls or contests. with TESOL, we recently had Founders Day, and we had a trivia contest, so we had a ton of engagement. We also had a prize, which helped as well. Everyone who engaged was entered into our prize drawing. But then at the same time, it was also a way to educate people about TESOL.
Mm-hmm. Ernesto, what are some of the ways that you can use social media for teaching purposes?
One of the activities that I particularly like is the challenges. That's very common on social media, and a tongue twister challenge. And actually, I'm very proud because one of my former students tagged me in this challenge to do a tongue twister. And I found it really fascinating. And the fact that more teachers and students, right, they got together into this, and we found it fun. And students, they learn from it. They learn a lot. And what's fantastic about it is that they replicated this with their students. So they learned, oh, I could use this in my class, or I could do this with some of my course mates. So I try to put into practice what I learned. So you see what you taught. It doesn't stop there. It goes on. It keeps moving. So more and more people join the challenge, and they improve their language. So I think it's a fabulous way to be engaged into your learning.
Right. So you can use social media to show students that learning online can be fun, because sometimes they may feel like it's not for them, that they're not going to learn as much, that they would rather be face-to-face. And so you could have, like you said, these challenges, trivia or things like that. And maybe some small classes or live events where people can join for free, can get to experience what it is like to, take this course or this program. And so that would be a great way also to find more students, if you're trying to grow your business.
Yeah.
So it's more like show, don't tell, right? Don't just tell us how great it is to learn with you, but show us how great it is, right?
Yeah, show and tell. That's right.
So, and our scenario number 3 is more, social media for bigger institutions, maybe associations, universities, places where there are a lot of people. So what would be the recommendation for this type of user?
Well, and, some things I've already shared, would apply here as well. But then, to add to this, I think if you are able to share testimonials from actual customers or clients, as well as as videos, people sharing their experience. I mean, that is going to be, of course, way more credible than the business just saying, you should do this because it's a great course. You should register. People want to hear it from someone who's actually participated. So I think it's tying in a little bit with what Ernesto was just talking about as far as the show and tell thing. But people do tend to, of course, believe people who have participated in it versus the business. There's just that built-in, credibility there. And also thinking about businesses, they may have, a budget to spend some money on advertising as well. And I will say, if you have great content, maybe you don't really need to do a lot of advertising and spend a lot of money because you're doing so well with your engagement and your content. But then again, with channels like Facebook and their algorithm, sometimes it is necessary really to spend a little bit of money to get more visibility. And it can be very inexpensive. Sometimes maybe it's only, $5 or $10, but with Facebook, it allows you to target different audiences just by boosting a post. So you have all these different options of ways that you can really hone in on, who you want to promote something to. You can set, your budget, your time frame, and then it would also, if you choose to do this, appear on Instagram as well, because of course, those two channels are owned by the same company. So it's kind of like a 2 for the price of 1, I think, but being able to advertise on both platforms just by, boosting it out on Facebook. So I think that's just one tip, I'd want to share.
I think using social media at organizational level is very rewarding. Like here in Venezuela, TESOL, they have carried out different live sessions on Instagram, and it's a great way to learn from experienced professors in ELT, and to provide this opportunity for free. Well, actually, you need to just to have an Instagram account, and you join the session and you learn, and you become part of this community. So it's a great tool. It's a great tool.
Yep. So I would say that, when we're talking about larger institutions, organizations, yes, you can use social media for marketing. But like you said, when social media is just part of the big picture, where you should also have a website, blogs, all the things. And I would say also one of the main objectives is really to bring people together, just because with larger organizations, people are spread. And so you want to create that sense of belonging. And so things like maybe highlighting a member of the month or a teacher of the month, or something that, is making sure that people feel like a sense of belonging and that they are really part of this bigger organization, right? That's kind of like a different type of objective.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally.
Okay, so thank you so much, Wynn and Ernesto. Now that we are getting ready to close this video, I would like to know if you have any additional remarks or any additional tips or advice that you want to share with our viewers.
Well, one last thing I would like to share about social media is that, of course, it is constantly changing. So it is something to keep on top of, but also not to be afraid to experiment. And I think that that's how you learn, so, try different things, see what the response is. If that doesn't work, try something else. I mean, there's typically no huge investment except for your time, that social media, unless you're paying for ads, is free. So I would say, try some different things, get to know your audience and see what they like, see what works with them.
Yeah, I'll go with what Wynn mentioned, that not to be afraid to try new things, because I know there are different professionals who are still afraid of technology. So I would suggest that not be afraid of it. I mean, try. And there's always a learning experience. And the goal is going to be very rewarding. So I would say go for it, try and share, learn from others. And it will be a magnificent experience.
So if you're watching and you have more tips, advice, suggestions, websites, ideas, do please share them in the comments below and let us know how you use social media and maybe something that we didn't discuss here today. So thanks again, Wynn. Thanks again, Ernesto. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.